In this short video, I am hopefully going to show you how to use your Luna Lapin book that you'll have purchased in order to trace off the full-size patterns inside so that you can start to make Luna and her friends all the clothing items that you would like. In order to do this, you'll need to just gather one or two things together. You'll need some paper that you can trace onto. This you can get from very cheaply from arts and craft supplies, or you can order it online. Otherwise, have a look in your kitchen, and if you've got a product similar to this, some grease-proof baking paper, then this works very well as pattern paper. It's still transparent enough that you can see through to trace off, and it's robust as well, so it will work well for that. So either of those products is fine, or something else that you found that works for you. I'd also recommend that you use a ruler to get your straight lines, to make those nice and straight. And then I've also got a pen and a pencil. You can use either. Pencil obviously you can rub out, but what you want is something with a fine tip, because you need to make a fine line for tracing off your pattern pieces. I wouldn't recommend you use felt tip, because felt tip is too thick and that can add extra bulk to your pattern pieces that will distort your finished garment. So pen or pencil are my favourites for this. All you need to do is choose the pattern that you want to make. In this case, I'm going to trace off the trousers for pajama bottoms. Take your piece of tracing paper. Oh, this one's so big. And then lay it over the book so that you can see the piece that you're wanting to trace. The secret is to holding your pattern pieces still, and you can use either a spice jar works very well, or a tin of beans or anything like that. And then using your pen or your pencil, I want you to trace around the solid line on the outside of the pattern. So you can just follow any of the lines that you want all the way around. If you go off the edges, just go back and just fill it in so that you can see where you need to. If you've got a rubber, you can rub out that line and follow it again. The more accurate your pattern tracing is, the more accurate your finished garment will be. So just trace around the lines. And where you have a straight line, like I've got a straight line on the bottom of this trouser piece, just use your ruler, because it will be quicker and more accurate for you to copy down those pieces. If you're worried about your paper moving whilst you're trying to trace, then you could just mark off some of the key points, like the crotch point and the waistband, and then you could then put a little dot at the corners and then join the dots. Once you've got the outline traced, you then need to have a look at what symbols there are. So at the top waistband here, we know we've got some triangles, so just draw those in accurately on the top. There's actually 3 on this pattern piece. There's none on the seam line there, and there's 2 on the seam line just here as well. So again, just draw those notches in there. Now on this piece, we've got another piece that needs to join on the bottom. So before we do anything else, make sure that you're aware if there are any pieces. Just join up the lines where you finished drawing the other piece. Smooth your paper down and continue down. You will then cut out this piece as one piece of fabric. You don't split it into 2. It's just the pattern piece was too big to fit onto the one sheet of paper. It's then important to use your pen to mark up your pattern piece. So in this case, I know these are the pajama bottoms. I can see that this is the leg, and I can also see that I need to cut 2. and then we've got our pattern piece cut out, drawn out on there. What I would then suggest that you do is go ahead and rough cut these out. You don't need to be too precise, so just starting with your scissors, just cut these out roughly and make a pile. It's going to feel a bit like a fabric jigsaw piece or a paper jigsaw piece at this stage, but bear with it and it'll all make sense as you move along. So just cut out these pieces for now. And we have our, and put it to one side. Then let's find the next piece. In this case we're going to draw the back of the pyjamas. So we can fit our piece of paper over onto the back of the drawing. And in this case, let's do what I said before. We're going to mark the line. So at all of the corners, let's just put a dot at the first point before we start to do anything else. This will then tell me where I need, so if those don't might line up with the places on the pattern when I come to draw over them, I know something's moved. And I can straighten it up before I carry on. That will save us from having any wonky lines. So again, use your ruler where you can on the straight lines, because that will give you a nice crisp edge. And on the curves, just freehand those in just nice and carefully. Now we need to just have a little look. We've got the only pattern marking we've got here is one here, which is a line with an arrow, a straight line and another line with an arrow. And I always write fold against that because that's what that little symbol means. Just means put that on the fold. We also know that this is the pyjama back. And we also can see from the information on the pattern, we need to cut one on fold. So again, write that down. The other thing that I do notice on here as well is the seam allowances, so we can have a little look on there. And this one here is 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm going to put 1/4 inch SA, and that will tell me when I'm cutting it out that we've got 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, I'm going to cut this out roughly. And put it to one side. It's as simple as that. By labelling up each piece and by keeping them together, you'll have them to use time and time again when you want to make this particular garment. So go on now and choose the garment you want to make, trace out your pattern pieces and label them up with as much information as you need, and then we'll come back and we'll show how we place these pattern pieces onto the fabric to use as little as possible, because obviously fabric is expensive, and also things that we need to be aware of when we're cutting out. Anyway, I hope that was useful. It's fairly straightforward, but for somebody who's not done it before, then it might just be a quick and useful video to show them how to get started. Happy stitching, everyone.